and the cost of bread skyrocketed. Of course,
Why is it always about bread? Like in Poland, it was the same. Like in Poland, when there was a communism, we had the protests. Like all the most important protests that happened in Poland were because of the price of bread. Like I think people are able to take everything, but when the bread is costing like $5, then we go on the streets.
Hello and welcome, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Veronica.
And I'm Valdemar.
And today we're watching something we haven't watched for months and months and months. So maybe some of you that have been with us for a long time, you will be surprised to see this video pop up. But we are back with Oversimplified.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. We've only saw what? The World War II?
The World War II, the Cold War, both parts about Hitler, the Emo War. We've seen quite a few in the beginning days of our channel, actually.
Have we seen the Cold War?
Yeah, we've seen the Cold War.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, but it's a little bit of a gamble. So today we're feeling a little bit risky because we've heard so much about channels being taken down because they're watching the oversimplified reactions. But I don't know how true it is. And I think it's mostly true for the very, very big channels. And while we really hope that we're going to get millions of subscribers one day, hit that subscribe button down below, by the way. I don't think that's coming in the next month. So I think for now, we're
It's the first
safe.
time I hear about this.
No, you said, remember that's why we stopped watching the Oversimplified video in the days, because you said that there was this historian who had the reactions to the Oversimplified
It wasn't about
channels.
Oversimplified.
No?
No, it was about the...
CPG Grey as well.
Yeah.
But the Oversimplified,
No.
you also said that
No,
you were scared of that.
Oversimplified unmonetizes all videos.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot earn anything fair from Oversimplified videos, but they are not blocked.
Ah, okay.
So we never had a problem. Well, we uploaded them a long time ago, but we've never had a problem with Oversimplified. But they are always unmonetized.
Oh, so that's why we haven't been watching them because you're greedy for money.
Yes,
Is that it?
You got
okay.
me.
All right.
And because they are long, and also because I have seen them all. Yeah, in case you don't know, I've seen already all Oversimplified videos, like everyone. Veronica has not.
No.
So that's why we are doing those reactions. But we have only seen a couple of them because they are long. And it's a long time to record them. It's a long time for you to watch. And it takes a long time to edit also. But why we are watching the French Revolution today? The reason is simple. We are watching the Napoleon series recently on this channel. You might know it. You may not know it if you are here new. But there is this series from Epic History channel, which is great, fantastic. And it's about Napoleon and his campaigns. We just finished Italian campaign. Mm-hmm. And we are continuing with the series. We upload video every week, more or less. And we thought that we are not going to watch Oversimplified about Napoleonic Wars because it would be counterproductive, if we are already learning about it from a source that is so much focusing
Yeah, and the
on it.
Epic History series is so emotional. We don't want any spoilers that we don't already know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought that the French Revolution is more fitting because it happened before. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a catalyst for all the events regarding Napoleon.
Yeah.
So it's good to know it. And
And Oversimplified videos are always fun, so I think it's a nice combo.
So if you are new here, then maybe after watching this, you may check out our videos about Napoleon. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to miss them, then I would suggest to subscribe because there is not like one day, like Sunday or Saturday that we are uploading them. It happens spontaneously, more or less every week, but it can be Monday, it can be Friday. So subscribe to not miss it. And as for a moment, let's watch. I will just have one simple question to you.
Yes.
What do you know about the French Revolution? Like if you could summarize it more or less.
So you know what? To be honest, when I think about it, I don't think I know that much. I think I just know the basics. I know that there was the opposition from the people, people living in the cities, not the villages. You also explained that to me, against the monarchy. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to overthrow it. And that's because of the differences that were between the classes. Everyone was very poor. And they were really living the aristocrats, they were living very outlandishly. Mm-hmm. There's that fake quote about Marie Antoinette that she said, give them cookies if they don't have bread. I think it's not true, but cake. But I think that really shows
the cake.
That really shows the feelings of the people
Yeah.
at that time.
And about the feelings of the monarchy.
Yeah, and
I
then
don't know if it's fake, this quote.
yeah, I've heard it's fake, but I don't know.
I think it's not like
Or that
it's,
it wasn't
it's not
her
proven
who said it.
100%, but I don't think it's confirmed to be fake.
Okay. And then I know that they just beheaded a lot of people from the royalty in the public executions, both the king and the queen, right? With the guillotine.
All right. Yeah,
But that's everything.
that's pretty decent.
Yeah, okay.
Let's go.
It's made possible by NordVPN. Get protected by clicking the link below and get an amazing 75% off. That's only $2.99 per month with an additional
I
month
strongly
free
recommend
for a limited
NordVPN,
time.
by the way.
Also,
and I'm
new
not
French
getting money for
Revolution
that.
merch available now.
Yeah, I'm
Unfortunately.
salty because we
Including
didn't get it for
King Louis and
75%
Marie
off.
Antoinette character pins, complete
But
with
NordVPN
detachable
is
vests,
great for
just
watching
like
different
the real
libraries,
thing.
from streaming services, like from Netflix
So
or
I
Prime.
said to the Marquis de la Fufayette, "What do you think I am? Some dirty peasant? I've never worked a day in my life." Wow, that Marie Antoinette sure is pretty. Sure is. Wouldn't want to be Prince Louis though. That's going to be a lot of responsibility when he becomes king, especially since France is in financial ruin. Quite. Thank you one and all for attending the royal marriage of my grandson, the future king of France, to the Archduchess of Austria. Now for the very awkward yet historically accurate part of the ceremony, where we all watch them get into bed together.
What? Historically accurate.
Bedding ceremony,
All right,
I think.
Now that's out of the way. Let's leave the royal couple to it. You better give us an heir, you fat,
Well,
ill-bred
I think
boy.
it's better this than Prima Nocta.
True. At least they're just watching.
That's going to be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin. You fat, ill-bred boy. Quite. That's going to be a lot of responsibility. France is in financial ruin. You fat, ill-bred boy. Quite. That's going to be a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Oh, great. He's a freaking weirdo.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the bedding ceremony was not about watching them having sex. It was, they were kind of undressing them and they were taking them to the bed, but it's not like they were undressing them completely naked.
Okay.
It's still undressing, but I think they were leaving, the underwear on them.
Okay.
And they were not there to watch the act itself.
Okay.
So
But who is they?
the guests on the
All
wedding.
the guests on the wedding.
I don't know all of them. Like, I don't know if there is a wedding or 500 people. I don't know
Okay.
if they were all able to fit in one room, but the guests.
Interesting.
France, the most prosperous, cultured, and beautiful nation in the world, as it had been for centuries. An exquisite social culture, with the king and the upper classes throwing crazy parties every night, enjoying high living and fine dining. Who cares if they were only able to do so off the backs of the hardworking, starving poor? What are they going to do?
Frogo Chanel.
Revolt? They're only 80% of the population. No, life in France is great. What's that, France? You want to go to war with Britain and increase your power? Go for it, little buddy. You do you. And you lost. Now you're in severe financial debt. We have no money. What do we do? Should we stop partying? Heck no. Party harder. That's okay. The peasantry will pick up the
People
slack.
have not
They
changed
were
that much
created by
throughout the
God to do
centuries,
all
right?
the work, and you were created to reap all the benefits and party hard. That's just how society works, and we've all just accepted it for centuries. Why? Why what? Why do the nobility get to be all rich and stuff? Just because they were born into it? And the rest of us schmucks just have to accept that? Hell, why do we even need a king? Who decided
What's with
that?
the
Splashing
beer?
him.
It all just seems very unfair and unequal, and I, for one, am starting to question it. Wow, that's very enlightened of you. And so began the Age of Enlightenment. Great philosophical thinkers across France and beyond began to question whether this beautiful nation was really all that beautiful after all. Hey, Prince Louis, bad news. Your grandpop died of smallpox this morning, which means good news, you're now the king. So just to sum up, France is in severe financial debt, and the angry populace are beginning to question how necessary you are. But hey, I believe in you, champ. You got this. Maybe. Oh no! Prince Louis Capet became King Louis XVI in May 1774. He was a notoriously weak man, and he knew it. He barely had the wisdom to rule a nation, never mind one in crisis, and he was easily manipulated by those around him. One of his first acts was to try to get revenge on the British by financing their American colony's revolution. Hey, we're an independent nation now. That was real swell of you, Louis. Couldn't have done it without you. Glad I could help. So hey, about all that money we lent you, When can we get that back? Yep, you're a great guy. I'll never forget what you've done for us. Real glad I could help, friend, but about that money. Gotta go now, chum. Best of luck to you.
I have a very quick question for our subscribers.
Yeah.
Like, food for thought. Like, imagine you can get written in history, so your legacy will live on. You will not die and be forgotten forever. But you have to be remembered like this king. Do you still take it, or do you not want to take it?
I would take it, but not for being remembered, for being alive.
No. That doesn't factor into
okay.
it. Like, you can either be the person you are now. Like, I mean, maybe you're doing something amazing and you'll be remembered anyway. But just a normal person, regular person, your children die, their grandchildren die, you get forgotten. Or you can be written in the cards of the history, but you're written and there is a guy making funny videos about you some centuries later and saying you are a notoriously weak man known for your failures.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I don't know. Maybe I would still want it. Like, it's good to be remembered.
I think like all my existential crisis and my anxiety scream at me to take whatever chance there is to survive in some kind of way. So I think I'd take it, but I'm not sure.
There was this previous king of France, but I don't know if he was named Louis. I think he was called Philippe, and I know him mostly from the fact that he washed 3 times in his life.
Yeah, so guys, let us know in the comments.
And I think I would prefer that, to be honest.
At least it's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And now France was in even more debt. France's poor, suffering under the strain of economic ruin, watched as the nobility continued to live as though nothing was wrong. In particular, they grew increasingly disdainful of the queen, Marie Antoinette, as she continued to spend all of France's money on her own luxurious lifestyle and fashion. While the peasants were breaking their backs in the fields, she was walking around like, hey, my hair is about it. I'm not making that up. Her hair really was about it. And her lavish spending earned her the nickname Madame Deficit. And speaking of the queen, there was also a long-standing scandal around the fact that the king took a very long time to boink her. And the working classes of Paris began ridiculing the royal couple with lewd pamphlets depicting the queen as a court thought and the king as a wuss, unable to fulfill his marital duty. Respect for the
How do you even know that?
Low, as France's finances were spiraling out of control, and the king and his aides really only had one solution to the crisis: tax the poor. Tax the poor. We could do a sexy calendar shoot. Tax the poor. And so it was. The poor, who were already struggling to make ends meet, found themselves being taxed from every direction. Hey, I'm the royal tax collector. Looks like you've yet to pay your income tax, head tax. By the way, how many windows you got in that house of yours? 3? Oof, yep.
There was already an income tax?
Hey,
I don't think so.
Have you paid your church tithe yet? Well, at least this one is going to the good work of God. Sure. God. I think this year God wants me to buy a new swimming pool. Hey, private tax collector here. Oh, and I brought some goons with me. Just a few quick questions. How much salt did you buy this year? About 7 kilos, I think? Yep. Okay, there's going to be a tax for that. Oh, what's that over there? And that's extra salt I held over from last year, so I wouldn't have to buy as much this year. Oh, yeah, there's a tax for that. And what are you doing with all this salt? Well, obviously cooking.
There's a tax for that.
The table. Yep. And preserving fish and meat. Oh no. Yep, there's a tax for that. Hey, how old is he? He's 9. And so he's purchased his required amount of salt for this year, right? What? No, he's 9. Uh-oh. Sorry, little Timmy. Looks like I'm gonna have to tax you for that.
I wonder which one of the ridiculous taxes were actually true.
Yep. So there's going to be a tax for it. And that's not all. A huge portion of the peasants' harvest had to be given up. And there was also the labor tax, where peasants were required to work a certain number of days for their local lord without pay. Obviously, people weren't too happy with these taxation policies, and the aggressive nature of these private tax farmers sometimes even escalated to violence. In particular, though, the people really hated how inconsistent the taxation rules were across the nation, and also the fact that the first 2 estates often had to pay very little, if any tax at all. And so, the anger continued to grow.
Seems
France
familiar?
had a population that was just about ready to explode. What could push them over the edge? How about a touch of natural disaster?
Yeah, that's always
A series
helps.
of harsh summers and winters left the peasants' harvests in ruin, meaning they had no food or money, and the cost of bread skyrocketed. Of course,
Why is it always about bread? Like in Poland, it was the same. Like in Poland, when there was a communism, we had the protests. Like all the most important protests that happened in Poland were because of the price of bread. Like, I think people are able to take everything, but when the bread is costing like $5, then we go on the streets.
Yeah. I do wonder about like bread versus grain, because I understand bread is quite simple and cheap to make when you do have the ingredients, and there's a lot you can do with bread, and you can preserve it for comparatively a long time as well. But it never made sense to me that it's not grain, like
Yeah, but it is. That's
like
why
millet or
that's why
something.
the grain is more expensive.
Yeah, but like why are we focusing our diet so much on the bread? Is it more difficult to harvest, for example, like, you know, like millet and other like oatmeal and stuff like that?
I think it's because it's just easier to eat.
Maybe you can take it with yourself as well to work in the field, for example.
Then prepare something else.
And this, you can make bread soup. We had bread soup in
Also,
Poland.
to be a little bit of a pessimist, what I find scary in those times that we are living now, and I'm not saying that it's as bad yet, but at least in those times, you were able to fight the oppressing government, right? That's the reason for the Second Amendment, for example, in the United States, is because so you can take up on arms and fight against oppressive government, tyrannical government. But nowadays, you are screwed, basically, because what you will do fighting against drones and planes and tanks, like if some country will become like a military dictatorship, then I don't think there is that much to do. And it's not even now. Like, I think it's the case from basically the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah, because the disparity of the army that the country possesses and what people could have is not like you can have a bunch of Kalashnikovs right now and storm the government.
Still it's kind of possible.
Of course,
like the Eastern Bloc was destroyed by the will of the people mostly.
And it's not without consequence. It wouldn't be, I think, even in Western Europe, because it's very hard to manage the country when everyone is revolting against you. And it's not really like you want to ruin your country by dropping bombs everywhere.
Yeah. But for example, like, do you think it would be possible in North Korea if people would suddenly start revolting?
I think what would need to happen in North Korea and also in the Western countries is that they would have to do, and I don't know what it would have to be, but they would have to do something so outrageous that the army turns against them, and then it's won.
Yeah, but if the army is an ally of the government, then
there's really not fighting against the government. We're fighting against like 100 guys. So.
Had massive stocks of grain and wheat, so they were virtually untouched by this new crisis. But now the poor really were starving, and they began to riot. Women took to the streets, bakeries were raided, and bakers suspected of keeping bread for themselves were sometimes even hanged. Wow, this is really getting out of control. Your Majesty,
well, French people like their croissants.
You need to step up and lead us. What will you do? Okay, I've got this. I know. I'll summon the Estates General, and they'll decide what to do. You really are a fat, ill-bred boy. The Estates General was the closest thing France had to a government, apart from the king. It was a purely advisory body, and was rarely summoned. In fact, it hadn't been summoned for 175 years.
How do you even know you're in it?
But with France in a severe crisis, the king felt the time was right to call on the government to help. The Estates General was made up of representatives from the 3 estates, that is, the clergy, the nobility, and everybody else. Okay, thanks for coming, everyone. The first order of business is regarding the clergy and nobility. You all get brand new Porsches. You get a Porsche, and you get a Porsche, and you get a Porsche. Everybody gets a Porsche. And now into the second order of business. France is completely out of money. It's never been this bad before. Anyone got any ideas? How about we all get Lamborghinis next time? The king decided that in order to make a decision, they had to come up with a voting system. Okay, the clergy. You have a population of 130,000, so you'll get 1 vote. The nobility. You have a population of 350,000, so you'll also get 1 vote. And the third estate. You have a population of 27 million people.
Also 1 vote?
Make up 98% of the population. Very impressive. You'll get 1 vote. The third estate were obviously pretty unhappy with this system because they kept on finding that this would happen. We propose to raise taxes on the third estate. All in favor? All opposed? 2-1. Taxes will be raised on the third estate. We propose a motion that says the first 2 estates are a bunch of poo-poo heads. All in favor? All opposed? 2-1. It's official. We are not poo-poo heads. The Third Estate realized that any attempt at reform would be outvoted by the two upper estates, and they thought that was kind of lame. So they decided that since they were 98% of the population, they could go off to form their own government, make their own laws, and take over the running of the country. And so, the National Assembly was born. The Third Estate was now in control, and there was nothing the king could do to stop. Haha! I've locked you all out of your building. What are you gonna do about it? We'll probably go find a different building that isn't locked. Ow! No! The National Assembly did find another unlocked building, just down the road, an indoor tennis court. We're on the 20th of June,
You remember that from the
They all took
history
the
lessons?
tennis court oath, pledging
No.
to continue meeting until
No,
the king
no, no.
finally gave in to their demands for more equality and economic reform. This new National Assembly included many of the most educated members of the Third Estate, including
Do you think it's the same court where on which they are now playing the Roland Garros?
That would be pretty neat, but I don't think so.
Do you know that? Maybe. If you know, let me know.
young lawyers by the names of many of the most educated members of the Third Estate, including two young lawyers by the names of Maximilien Robespierre and Georges Danton. Some members of the first two estates even joined their cause. Some of these men formed a radical new political party called the Jacobin Club and quickly became leading figures, while many members of the Third Estate simply wanted more equality. A growing number in this Jacobin faction would begin calling for something even crazier, the removal of the king entirely. And this is where fear began to take hold. With such a volatile situation developing, everyone was afraid of something. The king feared his position was under threat, and he called in the military to take position around Paris. The Third Estate heard rumor of the gathering military force, and they feared the king was planning to round them up and arrest them. Maybe he'd even execute them. It also didn't help that the king had just dismissed France's popular finance minister, who had been trying to make reforms himself. It seemed the king was done negotiating. Fear, left unchecked, often boils over into anger, and anger detonates with violence. The angry people of Paris, after centuries of cruel inequality, harsh oppression, even starvation, fearful of having their new movement for reform demolished so soon, decided that it was now or never to take action. Screw reform. They decided they'd do one better. How about revolution? The people of Paris, believing the French military was preparing to attack, decided they should arm themselves.
I was wondering, because when you have those protests always, even nowadays, it's not like everyone takes part in it, right? There are some people that stay home. But if you are thinking about it in a retrospection, then you are imagining, all Paris came, on those protests.
Yeah.
But what about the people that stayed home? Can you imagine, you open the window, you see them up gathering, with the torches, and you're like, no, I stay home. And then, you stay home, you play PlayStation or something, and 2 hours later you find out that the king was executed. You're like, oh, shit.
Maybe I should have been there. I hope someone had the phone to record it.
Paris, believing the French military was preparing to attack, decided they should arm themselves. The National Assembly announced the creation of a bourgeois militia, the National Guard, and immediately many troops from the French military defected over to the revolutionary side.
So that's important
In the early
part.
Yeah, I
hours
heard
of
that.
July 14th, 1789, a large crowd stormed and raided the Hotel des Invalides.
This
a
part I
military
remember
hospital
about the
where they
hotel.
were able to secure a large
From
number
history.
of rifles. The bad news was they weren't able to find any gunpowder for their new weapons. The good news was they knew exactly where to get some. A prison fortress and a symbol of royal tyranny towering over Paris.
Bastille.
The Bastille. Mid-morning, the crowd gathered around the Bastille and demanded that the man in charge, Governor Delaunay, surrender the prison and hand over the gunpowder. Obviously, Governor Delaunay was like, no way. So he stalled for time by inviting a few members of the crowd in for negotiations. The crowd, still waiting outside, quickly became impatient, and before long, they stormed the fortress, taking on the French troops inside. Your Majesty, we've received word that the people have surrounded the Bastille. Governor Delaunay will hold them off. No need to worry. Actually, Your Majesty, it appears the crowd is now headed away from the Bastille. You see? What did I tell you? Clearly, Governor Delaunay has defeated them and has them on the run. No need to worry. Your Majesty, isn't that Governor Delaunay's head on?
Oh my god.
Well,
Was it actually?
clearly, Governor Delaunay has taken on the form of a bodiless pikehead pig, and the people are so enamored with him, they're parading him around the city. No need to worry at all. When the National Assembly heard about the violence that had taken place, they had two options. Either one, they denounce it and try to carry on the revolution using peaceful means, or two, they say, damn, You stuck his head on a pike?
Yeah,
That's pretty
knowing
hardcore.
French people.
And we love
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
They went with option number 2. Some historians believe this reaction paved the way for the utter violence and bloodshed that would become the legacy of the French Revolution. This widespread acceptance of violence during the Revolution is also largely credited to the writings of a certain Jean-Paul
You know
Marat,
him?
a man of
No.
science with a horrible skin condition that kept him confined to a bath.
Okay.
He began writing a radical newspaper he affectionately named The Friend of the
You told me about him.
Citizens of France, be very afraid. Given the chance, the king and the nobility won't hesitate to massacre us all. The solution is simple. Execute them. Kill every last one of them. Cut off 1,000 heads. And if that's not enough, cut off 1,000 more. Oh, hey, Mr. Squeaky. What are you doing down there? You're so cute. Aw, I love you too, Mr. Squeaky. Mwah. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah. Kill them all. It became
But it is quite kind of funny, kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
You are basically never leaving your house, yet you have such an impact on everything happening around you.
He was.
But you are still in your bathtub, you know, like.
Do you think he was the origin of the internet trolls?
But a very powerful.
A very
internet
powerful,
troll.
like the ones that send out the bots right now. The person behind the bots.
So like Putin.
I'm kind of thinking like
Putin,
Putin,
but
but I don't
Putin
think
in-
Putin is
Putin bathtub.
personally behind that.
Putin in bathtub.
Yeah.
I can see that.
one of the most popular publications in Paris during the Revolution and succeeded in spreading ever-increasing fear and anger among the people. In August, leaders of the National Assembly, with help from a certain Thomas Jefferson, adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, an incredible document that guaranteed liberty and equal rights to all men. And when I say men, I mean men. Despite its glaring shortcomings in gender equality, the massively
Well,
influential declaration
one
would
step
go
at a
on to
time.
inspire the struggle for liberty and equality across the planet for centuries. However, back in France, the vast majority of the people weren't really so concerned with enlightened ideas of equality as much as they were concerned with the fact that they were still starving. Bread was still expensive as hell and hard to come by. The people felt that one reason nothing had been done yet about the crisis was because the king simply couldn't see the problem. He lived in Versailles, a full 20 kilometers southwest of Paris, and as a result, lived in comfort, separated from his dirty, stinking subjects. On October 5th, a crowd of women, 7,000 strong, decided they'd do something
see?
unprecedented. They decided they'd
Good job.
remove that separation and confront the king directly. The women marched all the way to the king's palace in Versailles. Along the way, the crowd continued to grow into the tens
Whoa,
of
my God.
thousands. And when they arrived, they demanded an audience with the king. What are those things outside the palace? They're poor people, your majesty. That's poor people? They say they're hungry.
Why she has a parrot
Then
on
let
her
them
head?
eat cake. Wow. See, this is the
She
exact
said-
BS that led to this whole mess in the first place. You're so out of touch. They're writhing around in the filth, breaking their back to barely scrape by, and they come to you demanding just the basic ability to feed themselves, and you think a slice of cake will sort them out? Well, then let them eat Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supreme. Wow. They're not that desperate. Members of the crowd actually managed
it that
to
bad?
break into the palace with the intention of killing the queen, who narrowly escaped through a secret passage in her bedroom. The enraged mob killed several members of the
Ooh.
royal guard and raised their heads on pikes, which, if you haven't noticed
Yeah.
yet, is something they were quite fond of doing. The king had no choice but to come out and talk to the crowd. He agreed to accept his new position, sharing power with the revolutionary government, and to return to Paris with the crowd, removing the separation between king and subject.
That seems pretty dangerous.
King Louis had a problem with people constantly raiding his palace. But one thing he didn't have a problem with was people raiding his computer.
Here it is.
Because he used NordVPN. If, like me, you don't like hackers stealing your data, password, bank details,
I'll show you the
and
cat in the
profile,
ad
then
break.
you need to check out NordVPN. With over 5,000 servers in 60 countries, it allows you to surf the net anonymously and safely with no personal
This is
data.
Shogun.
It's super easy
He
to
was
use.
sleeping,
You
now
can take
he's
a
gonna
trip to a
sleep
server
here.
in Japan with just the click of a button.
waking him
While
up.
you're there, why not check out
Monster.
some sweet
She's a
Japanese
monster,
network?
right? You were so sleepy. Oh. He has a sister too, but she's not here, I think. Or it's possible that we are sitting on her because she loves to hide in the couch. You want to come to me? No.
It's very difficult because we're trying to be very good cat parents and we're trying not to squish them too much and give them all the independence they want.
But they are too good for that.
They are a bit cute. A lot cute.
All right, so that's the first part of Oversimplified. Have you learned something new?
Yes, I think it was all new.
You learned that we have a new cat, and he's very cute. What else?
I think everything was kind of new. I mean, I knew where it came from, but it was good to understand the details and the larger context. And I didn't know that they already signed the constitution. I mean, that they had this declaration before the beheadings happened. I thought it was the other way around, so I didn't know it happened in stages.
The beheadings already happened.
Yeah, but of the king and the queen, right? So I thought I didn't know that it was in stages. So that's very interesting. I thought it was kind of, I really had the impression that it was a one and done kind of deal, that there was an escalation of violence and the unrest in the society. And then it was quite quick and it was cut. I didn't know that it was in several stages.
No, okay.
So then I am quite curious to see how it's going to unfold in the next episode.
Yeah, I think the next episode is...
bloodier?
I meant the more is happening in the second part. This is just like a preparation of everything.
Yeah, it gives me a lot to think as well. It's what you always say. Well, most people always say that how important history is and not to repeat it, because I don't know how the governments are now, and obviously it depends on the country. But when you're watching it, you think it's just so ridiculous. Like, how did you think it was going to end? If people know you are so rich and you are giving them even more taxes and more taxes when you're to the point of starvation.
Yeah, but at least now we have iPhones, so we can watch Netflix and YouTube. Instead of thinking about how badly we are being screwed.
Yeah, but nowhere in the Western world are you taxed to the point that you are, really starving. You have minimum wages everywhere, right?
Of course.
But it's also done in a better way now, I guess, like the whole taxation system, even if you disagree with it, though I think it's quite strange to disagree with it completely, because it would be hard to maintain the country. But because it's taken out of your wages mostly, unless you're self-employed, a lot of people don't even think about taxes, right?
I heard this comparison, and I would have to double check the validity of it. But the tax that he said, we also had that one in Poland for the peasants, that you had those numbers of days that you would have to work for your feudal lord.
Yeah.
And only after working this amount of days, the rest was for you.
Yeah.
And the right-wing politicians in Poland often mention that considering how much taxes you are paying right now, basically you are working more for the government than you are working for yourself.
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, not that you are working for yourself, but you are working more than the peasants in like 18th and 17th century.
That's interesting. It's also kind of a difference.
Because if you would think about it, like if you have like 40% or 45% of tax, then like for 45% of time that you are at work, you don't work for yourself.
Yeah, but where is it that I don't think there is a country where the average tax is 40%. You always have the tax-free amount in most countries, and then you have the gradual system. So it is nowhere that the average is 40%. I think in Poland, the average is around 25 for your wage.
No, I think it's more. I
don't know.
Especially if you would consider how much an employer pays for you.
Oh, yeah, well, that also, of course. Yeah.
So you have to take that into consideration.
That's true.
And also you have countries like Norway, for example, when the taxes are pretty high. Western Europe also pretty high taxes. Like at least you get something for them, not like in Poland, but still taxes are pretty high. So if you calculate how many days you spend at your work working for someone else, then I think if people would calculate that, if this would be like public knowledge that you can see clearly every day that you're waking up, I think you would already have some kind of revolution.
Maybe.
I'm not saying it's necessarily bad because, taxes have to exist.
It's a very difficult subject, I think. I know always you can say that about everything. Oh, it's a difficult subject, but it is, because how else do you maintain the society? And I mean, I have personally benefited a lot from taxes when I was sick, for example. Yeah, I get a sick pay. Those are my taxes as well, but...
Yeah, it's different when you see your taxes being used. You know, like if you go to the doctor and with no problem, you are being taken care of. And, you have all the tests done to you, and basically you finish and you pay like $5 or €5 for everything.
Yeah, it's a bit different then.
Then you see that, okay, this system kind of works. But in Poland, for example, and in many countries in Eastern Europe still, you are paying a lot of money for the national health system. And yet when you need to go to a doctor, you need to wait in like lines for a couple of months.
Yeah,
for the specialists,
And the road you take to go to the doctor is not fixed, or if you want to take public transport, is also not functioning that well. So you're like, where did my money go exactly?
I mean, it's not tragic with the public transports and road. It's not as bad as it was when we were children. Like a lot
but it's still not perfect.
Yeah, it's still not perfect. But I don't know if you remember how bad it was in the first decade of the 21st century.
I do, but I also remember that it's changed around the time that we joined the European Union. So I'm not that confident that our taxes are being used appropriately rather than just being massively funded by the EU.
Yes, the European Union is part of it, but also when we hosted the Euro 2012.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of reform there. That's true.
There was a lot of
infrastructure
built for the purpose of the game.
Okay, I guess we flew off the subject a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna hit the part 2
right now,
and
you're gonna watch it next day.
Yeah, and it's gonna be in the description box as well. And
it's not gonna be in the description box because
at the point that it's already up, it's gonna be there.
Yeah, but if the video is not uploaded yet, then
it's not there.
What they're gonna watch?
No, but if it's already the next day, then you can find it linked on this video. And if not, then wait till tomorrow.
Maybe we can set it as private and people from the link can reach it, but we can publish it to being public on the next day. What do you think?
I'll check what is possible.
We will try doing something like that. I think it kind of makes sense, but we're not sure yet. So check it out. If you open the video, first click subscribe, then like the video, then comment something nice. Like, for example, no, I don't know. I won't put words into your mouth, but you can say something nice. And then you can check if there is a link to the next part. And if there is, then you probably can watch it.
Super.
Yeah. You can comment how genius I am. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. See you in the next video.
Goodbye.
Bye.